Welcome to the Drive-By Entrepreneur podcast, which exists to bring current and compelling content to entrepreneurs and influencers of small to mid-sized organizations. I'm John Frank, fellow entrepreneur and the owner of Third Road Management. And with this podcast, we will connect with a variety of experienced and dynamic individuals to shed some light on both the art and science of entrepreneurship. Before we begin, I'd like to thank our sponsors. First, my very own Third Road Management, a company that brings fractional CFO services to small and mid-sized organizations by revolutionizing the CFO suite. We'd also like to thank Two Hound Red, a brewery and restaurant located in Glen Ellen, Illinois, that is focused on creating classic, innovative beer and food. And finally, we'd like to thank NWC Media, which provides inbound marketing technology, project workflow management, and efficiency consulting to organizations of varied sizes, who is also the producer of the Drive-By Entrepreneur podcast. Jerry Freund.
John, good to see you.
Yeah, welcome to the podcast. I'm super excited to have you on. I was looking back. I think you were originally scheduled to be guest number 2.
Oh, is that right?
On the podcast. And I think you had something come up. I can't remember what it was. But we were like, all right, let's reschedule it or whatever. And then I can't believe that it's been this long.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm
well,
looking forward to it.
Well, and before I even go super further, I think one of the reasons why even at the time that I wanted to, have you on there is you got an incredible story that people are going to hear about when they tune into this or whatever. But one of the first things that always comes to my mind, and I've been interviewed a million times about this, is you / MidAmerican Printing Systems are part of the origin story of Third Road Management. It was you calling out while I was working at, Mission Church, and you were just saying, hey, CFO resigned, can you come help me?
You won't remember this, but
Yeah.
Nathan actually filmed you on the train platform going to work that first day to our office.
Absolutely.
It's fun to see.
Yeah, no.
You've come a long way. Congratulations.
Well, yeah, no, and I mean, it's just been it's been fun to be on the ride alongside of you or whatever. But I do want to give credit to where credit's due, because since that step, we've taken a lot of steps, and it's been fun to watch you on the journey as well, which is what I think is going to be so valuable for people to learn from. And I'll just kick off with why does the podcast exist? There's a million different podcasts. What is this one intended to do? Mission statement wise, we bring current and compelling content to entrepreneurs and influencers of small to mid-sized organizations, right? Which isn't, I will admittedly say it's not the most catchy, mission statement, so to speak, but it helps center me around who are the people that should be in the room? Who are the people that I want to sit across the table from? Most of which are entrepreneurs themselves, right? That, aren't the Sam Adams of the world, aren't the companies that roll off people's tongues that have gotten to, billions in revenue, right? The people that are really doing work on the ground, giving people jobs, doing the things that people see every day when they drive by in their cars.
There's a lot of us out there.
There's a lot of you out there. And you know what? Again, people talk about, the success rates or failure rates, however you want to do it, of, starting a business. The failure rates are exceptionally high. I don't know what they are exactly, but, I've always heard somewhere around 90% of, startup businesses fail. And, so I think it's just important to stop and learn from people that are doing it or have done it or have helped the people that are doing it or have done it along the way. So most of the people we talk to, like I said, are entrepreneurs, or they're people that are in the orbit of entrepreneurs that help out in different ways, like a banker or a lawyer or, somebody like that. But, before I get into any specific things I want to dive into, the first thing I love to do, sort of open mic time, I know obviously a lot about you because we go back so many years. But I always find new things every time we talk. In addition, anybody that's just tuning in to kind of get an understanding for your journey as an entrepreneur, but even before then, I always find that like where people grew up or how they grew up or, who are the providential people in their lives that influenced them had played a role along the way. And so go back as far as you want.
Sure.
Tell me about you and how you got from where you were to where you are today.
Well, my parents were, well, my dad was from Kansas City, Missouri. My mother was from Highmore, South Dakota. They met in Brookings, South Dakota. They got married back in 1952.
Okay.
I was born in 1953 in Sioux City, Iowa.
Mm.
My dad was in middle management on the railroad. Excuse me. And so what they did with these guys is they put them on different spots in the territory. So in a span of 5 years, he was in Sioux City, Savannah, Bensonville, Green Bay, Wisconsin, etc. So I moved around a lot as a young kid. And I saw that as a strength actually because it forced me to make new friends
Yep.
and learn how to communicate with people quickly. And these are skills that I like to this day.
Yep.
But then when I was 10, we settled in Itasca, Illinois, and
Where all the best come from.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
And then when I was 16, my folks built a house in Roselle, Illinois, and I ended up buying that home from them in 1984.
Yep.
Fast forward to going to Driscoll High School, graduated in 1971. Then I went to Quincy College and graduated from there in 1975 with a business degree.
Yep.
And then went to work for Packaging Corporation of America, which was headquartered in Evanston and was dispatched to their Austin Boulevard container plant, which was where they made corrugated boxes.
Yep.
And my territory was Cermak Road South, Fullerton Avenue North, Lake Michigan East, and Manheim Road West. And I knew every square inch of that little
Yeah.
rectangle there.
Yep.
And it taught me a lot because it was a lot of cold calling, a lot of account management, a lot of entertaining,
Yep.
and this kind of thing. This is back in the, late 70s. It was, business was done in a different way during those years. And
Yep.
we had the little rooms with the dial telephones.
Oh
And,
yeah.
you'd go in and out and make your calls. And so then 3.5 years later, my very good friend Pat Fitzgerald was doing well as a business forms broker.
Mm-hmm.
He had worked for Wallace Business Forms and started his own shop. And at the time, I had 3 or 4 kids at the time and knew that I needed to make more money to raise this growing family.
Yep.
So I said to Fitz, Fitz, if I bust it and work 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, I said, is it possible to make $50,000 a year? He goes, sure. I said, great, I'll be there in 2 weeks. I just asked for the job.
Yeah.
And went to my boss at PCA, gave him the notice. And that didn't go very well. But anyway, I had a great success at Available Business Forms. Really kind of taught me the printing business for the first time. In those years, we were basically, buying, getting orders from customers for snap out forms, for continuous forms, for envelopes, letterhead, stationery, that kind of thing.
Yep.
And then flipping that over to other what they called trade plants, meaning that these particular printers would only service the trade or other brokers.
Interesting.
So that's how I kind of got into the business. And then in 1985, starting my own firm, MidAmerican Printing Systems. And I'll never forget the first day. It was I had this old Electro 225 with this padded roof, and I actually got a phone call to pick up my first order up in Rogers Park. And I remember being on Lakeshore Drive, windows down, music absolutely blasting.
Oh yeah, Phil Collins, Lionel Richie,
and that sense of freedom was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yep. It was just a lot of fun. But soon thereafter, kind of learned the realities of entrepreneurhood.
Oh yeah.
Lack of a better term.
Well, as an entrepreneur, there's a lot of days of, windows down, jamming the tunes. And then there's other days where you want to crawl in the trunk and, so on and so forth. But,
What I wasn't prepared for was, and I would give any young entrepreneur this one lesson or this one piece of advice: learn how to manage your emotions,
yep,
and learn that these emotions are like dry leaves being blown across the driveway. The negative emotions will leave and will be replaced by other emotions. And don't let that rule you.
yeah,
Unfortunately, that it did rule me the earlier years of my business.
yep,
Um, you're faced with employees, you're faced with vendors, you're faced with customers, you're faced with government agencies, and some days you feel like the whole world is against you.
yep,
And I wish I was just able to manage that a lot better.
yep,
And I'm not quite sure how you do that,
yeah.
but just the point I wanted to make here today.
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting because there's the peaks and valleys. I had a conversation, ironically, at lunch today with somebody talking about like nobody really understands those peaks and valleys of entrepreneurship until you've been in it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's really hard to understand that behind the surface of the, oh, that person's built this successful business or whatever. Like there were so many days where you just wanted to give up and nobody understands the risks that you took. Nobody understands the, you know, vendor that you had to scream at or the vendor that you had to not scream at or, like whatever, like all the emotions to your point that go along on the journey that you just need to manage through and you can't let them own you. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, cause I mean,
It's hard to
like
do.
the second you think that you got it down and under control is the second you don't. You know what I mean? Like, it's just never there. And, if you want to be successful as an entrepreneur, like one of the biggest qualities is you gotta have thick skin, and
You just can't jump 3 feet in the air when something goes wrong.
right,
And if you do, you won't last.
right,
It's impossible.
right, right. Um, so 1984, you're up and running, first order, and then by the way, or 85, I should say. Congratulations, 40 years
Thank you.
officially,
Yeah.
2025. That's
Yeah.
pretty amazing. I
Thank
feel
you.
like we should be doing something to celebrate that, by the way. But 40 years in business. I'm going to hit on, well, I'll just jump into it. But,
Sure.
one of the first themes that I wanted to hit on was perseverance. And like every time I think about, you and your business, I mean, even dating back to the origin of us working together for the first time, back at the start of Third Road, which was in 2012 or 13, 2013, when I just started helping you on the side.
12 years.
Yeah. Um, but like even then, just personnel issues and things like that. But if you rewind the tape even further, and I mean, even just starting in 2000, you've got sort of the Y2K boom and bust. You've got the 08, 09 financial crisis. You've got COVID. You've got even industry wise, an industry that has changed dramatically since 1985. When you reverse doing it, commercial printing in general. The types of things that people are looking for, the machinery that's required to do it, the people that you need to hire to do it, is just they're not as plentiful as they once were.
Right.
And I mean, like the endurance and the perseverance is just, I don't know, remarkable. Like, and I feel like it's really important for people to understand that journey. So, like, maybe in that spirit, take us on that journey from
Sure.
like 85 till now and maybe hit on some of those points. But like, I'm just kind of curious for your like feedback loop on like, you know, how you've lasted 40 years despite all those things.
Interesting. It's a great question. I think that regardless of where I was, success or failure, I made a personal commitment to myself and to my family that failure was just not an option.
Yep.
Meaning that uh, if you paint me into a corner, I'm going to come out swinging. We'll hook or by crook, we're going to find a way to get through this.
Yep.
And I remember during one of those times in the earlier part of my business career, recall having to liquidate a portion of our 401k to meet a payroll.
Yep.
And what a tough conversation that was, with my wife Mary, to say, hey, but she supported me, and we did what we did, and did that a number of times throughout the duration of the business.
Yep.
As you probably remember, there were times when we worked together that I just said, okay, we're just going to put the brakes on a salary. We can't afford to pay me right now.
Yep.
And it's not something you want to do, but it's the business has to go on, and it has to be liquid.
Yep.
And you have to pay your bills and move on.
Yep.
So that's tough,
Yeah.
when entrepreneurs are faced with that. But we all go through it.
Yeah.
So,
The leaders eat last, right?
right.
You
Yeah,
know,
exactly.
you get what's remaining after everybody else is taken care of. Yeah.
And certainly people like you and myself, it's extremely difficult to lay people off. We're not of that ilk.
Yeah.
That's not who we are. So we do everything we can to keep the ship going and under tough times. But and then there are the good times. There are times when you might have 3, 4, 5 good months in a row. You're accumulating a lot of cash. But I've always had the belief that I'm going to live 2 or 3 levels below what I'm making.
Yep.
So that you can accumulate some cash for a rainy day and kind of get through these situations, because they're going to come.
Yep. No doubt.
So that's an interesting, concept.
Yep. That's absolutely true. I mean, like, I look around, so many people, my house is not the nicest house in the block by any stretch of the imagination. Our, vehicles are modest vehicles. You know what I mean? We live a very sensible life, but I mean, I think that that's a really good kernel, and a great example of what I know that you were going to bring to the table is like, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you got to have the stomach for it, right? But you also got to be wise, right, in harvesting in the times that you can harvest, but being ready to pull back in the times that you need to pull back, right? And have a plan for it.
And as long as we're on this topic, I think a conversation that kind of fits as well is that where I struggled initially is I didn't dedicate enough time or attention to the cost side of the business. Meaning that if it takes me 9 sales dollars to make a buck, the beauty of cost control is that it's a 1-to-1 ratio. $1 removed from cost is $1 of profit. It's a 1-to-1
Yeah.
deal. And if you can harness the power of those two forces together,
Yep.
you can make a lot of money.
Yep.
But if you ignore it, if you ignore one, and if you ignore the other, that's not going down the right path.
Yep.
And I appreciate you coming in and helping me with that. I mean, you were very surgical about approaching the cost side of our business, and you were very helpful in helping me to, come to that awareness.
Yep.
And
Yeah. It's something that, you get so busy, not you specifically, but I think entrepreneurs in general get so busy either, selling, right, or delivering, right? Whether it be a good or a service, you want to sell, 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 right? And then just get it out, get it out, get it out, get it out, right? And you don't look back. And if you don't look at it, very closely, you may be just doggy paddling here. You know what I mean?
over time,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just over time, or like the right economic policies in place, your pricing, you're buying, how are you buying stuff? Like a classic example I always, kind of give as being, it was like a $30 million, company. And one of the first, I mean, I was looking at kind of everything. This is going back some years, but, one of the things I asked about was like a report of sales by salesperson, right? And not MidAmerican, just to be clear. and it was like a sales by salesperson report. And I was just asking, like, give me the last 3 years of sales, give me the last 3 years gross profit, and give me a example of, what their salaries are. You know what I mean? And I just remember one individual was like $150,000 of salary, which really is at least 20% overhead. You got to add on top of that for payroll taxes, 401k, benefits, all that kind of stuff. It's at least 20%. Um, so let's say it's 180,000. Well, this individual is doing, $300,000 worth of sales at, 30% gross margin, you know, it's like, okay, well, they're producing $90,000 of gross profit and costing you $180,000.
So every day that individual shows up to work, you're losing
Yeah.
$500 or
Yeah.
whatever.
You're better off them not being
Yes,
there
right.
and losing the sales. Right. So, which is a different adage, is not all sales are good sales. You know what I mean? Like, it's got to be the right price and the right margin, and it's got to fit within the ecosystem that you're operating in, and whatever. But yeah, I get it. It's like, you can be so busy looking at, just keeping the wheels in motion, that like that critical analysis part, is kind of missing. If you look at like specifically some of those touch points of like Y2K boom or 0809, COVID, like, are there anything, like specifically, or that you can look back to, and what are the things that sustain you through those particularly tough periods, other than the fortitude and things like that?
Well, it's interesting, because uh, during those times, the water in the pool went down 3 feet for everybody.
Yep.
So we were all kind of in it together. I remember one of those periods specifically, and I was kind of alone on an island by myself. I didn't have anybody, in my company that I could talk to and network with. So I did something like I joined a Latip network. They meet every once a week, and they have breakfast, and
Yep.
you get up and you give your commercial, and you meet people, and so that was something that I did that was a positive thing.
Yep.
I got a lot of reps and met a lot of nice people.
And what does that stand for?
It's called Latip. It's
Okay.
kind of like the BAI, or what's the kind of a clone networking organization.
Got it. Yeah. Gotcha. Yep.
And so that was something that was helpful. Um,
And then you did the Second City stuff too, training, right, to help you.
did the Second City training.
Yep.
I went through a period where I was becoming a little bit of a recluse, and that wasn't good for running a business.
Yep.
So I went to Second City and went through their 5 modules of their improv comedy
Yep.
thing. It was a blast. It was a lot of fun, and it certainly, you know, was an interesting experience.
Well, it's sort of like you're thinking about it through the lens of continuing education, and be like, hey, how can I do what I'm doing better? You know what I
Right.
mean? A lot of people get stagnant and be like, oh, this is who I am, and this is who I'm going to be forever. And like, again, from a sustainability perspective, you got to keep growing. You got to not literally in terms of the top line, like you individually have to, keep doing the work. You know what I mean?
And you have to be on point for your customers. You want to be able to communicate in a way that is, persuasive,
Yep.
and reassuring to them that you are going to add value,
Yep.
and do what you say you're going to do. And so all these things can be helpful in that regard.
Yeah. You've also had I'm feeding you the stuff or whatever that I'm thinking about, because I know you, but a very regimented workout, routine that you've done for years. You know what I mean? I'm sure that that's helped from a, just overall, when you show up to work every day, you're ready to go,
Yes.
kind of thing. And then the other thing I was thinking about specific to some of those economic times, I only because I know you've talked to me about this before, and it's something that I do talk to about in clients in general, is that, your banking relationships have been very strong, right? And having a personal connection with whoever it is that you're banking with is very, very important, right? Just being able to sit across the table and say, hey, yeah, I know it's 0809. things could be better, but you know what? We're going to get through it, and we're going to hold hands and walk through it together. And you've always come through.
Well, and to your point, I mean, I just can't imagine being a small manufacturer or any kind of a business without a line of credit.
Yep.
And you need that relationship to be right.
Yep.
You know, you don't want to be left in a rowboat without any oars in it.
Right.
You know, which happened, you know, with some of the bigger banks during the last financial crisis.
Yep.
Or COVID.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I always think about that when, you know, like the little pearls of wisdom that I've learned from you over the years. And there are many, but that was one of them that definitely has stuck with me.
Now, in your travels, are the bigger banks more community oriented now, would you say?
Yeah, I wouldn't, no, no, I still am a proponent of right size bank, you know.
Okay.
I don't have anything against, you know, a bigger bank. I think, you know, the bigger the company, the bigger bank is appropriate. I think big banks have a lot of trouble outsmalling small banks, you know, just from a relationship perspective. They say they want to do it. I don't know that they really do, you know, wholeheartedly at least. You know, I don't want to speak for any, you know, banks specifically, but I think they're really good at what they do, and they do things that, you know, the smaller banks can't, and the smaller banks do a pretty good job of, you know, serving the smaller business community. They just do. Um, Very good. I was also curious just about, like, you know, in terms of like doing things right, um, you know, kind of goes along with the perseverance thing, but like, can you point to any like decisions that you made along the way that when you look back, you were like, man, that was the right call? Or conversely, you were like, man, I wish I had a mulligan on that one. And pick and choose or whatever, anything come to mind? I'm curious.
I think that one area that I wish I could have refined or done a little bit differently was, you know, coming up as a salesman, an industrial salesman. We were trained by these Xerox selling skills programs, that kind of thing.
Yep.
And they're a bit manipulative in terms of how they deal with customers and interactions and that kind of thing.
Yep.
And I think I kind of got all mucked up into the Tony Robbins sort of, you know, NLP, all this stuff.
Yep.
And if I had it to do over again, I probably wouldn't have spent as much time in the relationship based sales situation, meaning that I would, you know, my weekends were playing golf or going to lunch or going to hockey games, you know, as opposed to, okay, what products are we making? How is our process? How are our processes? You know, let's focus a little bit more on our deliverables as
Yep.
opposed to the relationship side of the
Yep.
business. And I think now I've got it in the right balance where I'm definitely more focused on process, uh, you know, delivery metrics, quality,
Yep.
brand, that kind of thing. And I wish I would have done that a little bit earlier. I think
Yep.
it would have helped the company. And I think that many beginning entrepreneurs, if they have 2 or 3 large customers, they kind of get locked into the relationship side because that's all they have.
Yep.
Or, you know, they tend to get influenced by some of these people
Yep.
in a way that can be not so good.
Yep. That's a really interesting point. Yeah. Yeah, I can see that where, you know, you're relying so much on the personal relationship, which can be fleeting in a number of different ways, right? You know, like number one, your point of contact may be gone tomorrow,
Correct.
right?
Right.
Or they may sell that business tomorrow if your main point of contact is the owner of the business. Or you know, like the personnel can be gone, right? And if your product is overpriced or under spec,
You're exposed.
when it, you know, you're just exposed, and the first person that's going to come in is going to be like, this is crap. Why are we, you know, why are we paying this? Or why is this product not what we think it's supposed to be? And, you know, you're going to be yesterday's news if you're not focused on the delivery of the actual good or service that you're delivering and relying too much on the relationship side of it. I completely agree with that. Um, that's great. What any other stuff that you would think of that you feel like you got right, or that you feel like you wish you had a chance to redo?
I truly believe that one of the best CapEx decisions we ever made was to buy a KBA,
Yep.
which is a 6-color printing press with a coder. There's a 28 by 40 sheet size, and the the book on KBA is that they're not the best marketing people, but it's a German press that is over engineered.
Yep.
And this press was made in 2003, and to this day, it is still printing one of the most pristine looking press sheets anywhere.
Yep.
That was a very good decision.
Yep.
It's paid for, fully depreciated,
Yep.
but the cost side of that is works for us.
Yep. Does it, so would the learning there be um, sort of like invest in quality products? You know what I mean? Like you said, it's a highly engineered machine, German made, whatever. It's really kind of lasted you. So like, was it a little bit more expensive than another product that you could have gotten, or was it a capital decision that you had to make that was a huge cash outlay, but man, it's really reaped its rewards? Or in what way has it benefited you the most?
Well, I mean, it was we bought it used out of a shop in LA.
Hmm.
Uh, the installation was well over $1 million at
Yep.
the time, used. So it was a leap of faith to some degree for us,
Yep.
but it's proven to pay for itself. So to answer your question, yes, I think uh, you know error to the side of caution. I mean, if you want to buy on the cheap, be willing to pay for your sins later, because
Yeah.
we've all done it.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
we've had other pieces of equipment that haven't been as successful,
Yeah.
but
If I heard this, it's more related to professional services, but it applies here. And I wish I could remember where I saw it because I could give credit to whoever did it or whatever. But it said something like, if you think it's expensive to hire a professional, uh, I bet you can't wait to see what it costs to hire an amateur.
oh, true.
Yeah, it's totally true. You know what I mean? In some ways, it's just like you get what you pay for. But in this case, it was, that $1 million, and this is in 2000, what,
Would have
six
been
or so?
2000. We were at Grand Avenue, so that would have been 2012.
2012. Yeah.
2011.
A big outlay, you know what I mean? From a capital spending perspective, but that's really good. Anything else that comes to mind that are like, you know, things you did well or things you
Here's
take back?
something that I didn't do too well. Uh, and I'm not going to go into details other than I think it's wise to um, remove toxic employees.
Yep.
Um, there's one case in particular that I just really procrastinated on this
Yep.
one situation, and I would tell anybody that if you find yourself creating workarounds or uh, other reporting channels to accommodate somebody that's not a team player
Yep.
or is just not a good fit for the organization, just let them go.
Yep. Yeah. There's, yes. Um, there's so much wisdom, I feel like, behind that. Um, it's the toxicity, it's the tension in the air. It's, but I feel like the core truth, and tell me if this applies to you or not, but the situations I've seen are people that are afraid of making the change because they're worried about how am I going to replace whatever that person's going to do,
Exactly.
or that person is going to throw a fit, and I don't want that to happen, or just any number of things. Like you build these scenarios in your head of the reasons to not do something, and that's enough to stop you from doing it. But then the situations where, it's uncomfortable, but you lean into it and you're just like, no, this is the way we got to go. It's like the relief that's on the other side of it is not just for you, but it just feels like for everybody. It's like, oh, I didn't realize we
You
were going to
said
be
that
in a
much
much
better than
better
I did.
place.
And the payoff is this, is that once you go ahead with it, I mean, the surgery, for lack of a better term, human nature is such that 2 weeks down the road, it's like, oh, I forgot that he worked here.
Yeah.
So it was like all these worrying about all these scenarios for no reason.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that's it. And like to humanize it for a minute, you're not necessarily, promoting, the
Absolutely not.
idea of, let's go, tear up, upend people's lives and, go in with the scalpel, from a staffing standpoint. And we never do that organizationally at Third Road with our clients or anything like that. We're not like a salary cost reduction company like that. We don't even look at that, unless people ask us to or something like that. But it is, I feel like almost universally true when I've seen these situations arise, that the moment that you get beyond it, it's like everybody has a collective sigh of relief. And it's almost like everybody kind of knew the thing, but nobody was talking about it,
Right.
you know? Um, all right, keep going. If you got more pearls of wisdom, let's get them.
It's difficult to go wrong with a client first mentality, as we talked before.
Yep.
Um, just understanding that it's the burden is upon us to communicate properly.
Yep.
For example, we have processes in the printing business where, the sales representative would seek an inquiry or an estimate, and then we communicate those specifications to the customer service representative slash estimators. They would create an estimate, and then we in turn would submit a quotation to the client, and then try to close that particular order.
Yep.
Well, in the path of doing that, um, I continually see areas in communication where I's are not dotted and T's are not crossed.
Yep.
Meaning that if I'm writing an email to my CSR about an estimate, what I'll do is I'll write the email with the specifications. I'll pick up my head and I'll turn it to the left and I'll turn it to the right. And then I'll read that email again as if I am Mike Gendra and say, huh, I forgot to do this. Every single time I will change something in that email to improve the communication of that email.
Yep.
Correct a mistake, oh, this is plural, something to make it better. If you don't do that, if you don't have that quality check with your work, you're liable to make a communication error, and thus, what comes out of the sausage plant won't be what you want it to be.
Yep.
So that communication is extremely important in our company, and we do a good job of double checking. And
Yep. And Mike works with you just for the sake of,
yes,
but yeah, so many, I mean, great
the customers
yeah.
too. I mean,
Yeah.
do you really want this on Tuesday? It's
Yeah.
kind of just pinning them down in terms of
Yep.
what the expectations are or what they should be.
I literally just had lunch a couple hours ago with a gentleman who's just a friend of mine, who's in the private equity community and has used a firm to do some accounting things for him, like so stuff similar to what we do at Third Road. And I wasn't trying to win his business. I was just saying, hey, can you tell me about your experiences? How did you seek this group out? What do you really like about them? And what would you like to see improved? And the number one thing he actually talked about, and this is just a couple hours ago, was communication. And what he talked about was just the consistency of, like in this specific example, it was, apparently a couple of months went by that somebody was supposed to send over details for a journal entry, and they just never did it, right? And so the person on the receiving end of the information to log those journal entries into the accounting system just didn't do them, you know? And then a couple of months go by, and then all of a sudden he's looking at it, he's like, the heck, why is this number so crazy big, you know? And then goes back to the person and they say, oh, well, so and so never sent me the journal entries. And so
Wouldn't that prompt a conversation?
yeah, and therefore I got 3 months worth in 1 month, and therefore they're all booked in this 1 month, which is, there's multiple problems there, but
Wow.
just the lines of communication of being like, that. And then like you also hit on the conscientiousness factor. So communicate well, be conscientious of what you're communicating, right? Check it. Is this right? Does this make sense? You know what I mean? Like, because in your case, you've got a customer, you've got you as the sales individual, and you've got your estimator. It's important for all of you guys to be on the same page in order to get the product right at the end of the day, right? So conscientiousness matters, clarity matters. So yeah,
And then just to piggyback
yeah,
on that, as managers, um, I never want my people to be held hostage because of me.
yeah,
Meaning that if they need some information to do their job, or I will drop what I'm doing to get that to them.
yeah,
If I delayed in any, some of these, managers make people wait outside their office until they have time. That's crazy.
yeah,
Give your people what they need to be successful.
yep,
You know what I mean?
yep,
Don't hold them hostage.
yep,
It's expensive. It hurts the customers.
yep,
So why would we do that? You
yep.
know what I mean? It's just,
Yeah. You bring up a good point, which you didn't know that you brought it up, but I'm curious what your thought is on it. I agree with you that I've always felt like you are client centric first, right? Like this is all we are in business to serve the client, right?
correct.
And I similarly have a very similar feeling at Third Road, and we are a professional services business. You know what I mean? In the words of, Horst Schulze and, that we are ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen, right? Our job is to, put the white towel. How can I help you?
Exactly.
How can I, whatever. There's tension though, I think at times between your primary customer being your customer, your client, and your primary customer being, your team.
Your internal customers.
Your internal customers, your employees, right? And there's a tension there. And I'm just curious, like, how would you say the right way to balance is that? You know what I mean? Like, how do we, is it as simple as getting the people on the team that are all unified in belief that the primary customer is the end client, the people that are, bringing us orders and paying the bills and things like that. But like, I don't know, I'm just kind of curious how you manage it, because it's come up over the course of time.
One thing we have in our culture that I insist upon is I will not allow any conversations that remotely get close to having contempt for the customer. So in my presence, none of the people on my team would ever say anything negative about a customer. Now,
Yep.
do some of our customers have personalities that are tough to deal with? Yes, of
Yep.
course. But they decided to choose us to deal with.
Yep.
I'm not going to dishonor that choice.
Yep.
And there will be no negative talk about that.
Yep.
And I met a young salesman not too long ago, and I said, Charlie, I said, you just said something negative about a customer. He had been on a call and he was complaining about this customer. I said, he chose you.
Yeah.
And I said, you're dishonoring him this way? I said, I don't want to hear this. And he said, who's this guy? This whack job, But I mean, I feel very strongly about that, because I said, Charlie, even if you think it, he's going to know.
Yeah. It'll come across in your body language, and your short email responses,
Right.
and and how you even position your body, like when you're on a video call or something like that.
These are the people that are paying our bills, putting our kids through school, paying for car payments and everything.
Yeah.
Why would we be disrespectful to them?
Right. Yeah, I mean, you don't gotta, go to the, their wedding or
Of course not.
or whatever on the weekend or whatever, but and obviously if it's a different situation where somebody is acting unethically or
Right.
illegally or, something like that, you know what I mean? But like part of being in a service business is being able to, you know, engage with different personalities in the same professional manner, regardless of, whether or not you want to spend time with them outside of, the work relationship, but yeah, I think that that's really important as well. Um, the last thing I was kind of curious about, like, and we've been building up to it, I guess, 40 years. Again, congratulations.
Thank you.
It's amazing. Um, when you look back on it, you know, was it worth it? Meaning like you could have stayed working for somebody else. You could have avoided some of the hard times. You could have avoided a lot of, restless nights, all that kind of thing. Like, you know, was it worth it?
I will tell you.
And you're not done yet, just to be clear.
I will tell you in one word. It was worth it.
Yeah.
And here's why it was worth it. There was a few years ago when we were kind of kicking the tires about selling the business, and I showed up at a country club and was being interviewed by my prospective new boss, the folks that were going to buy the firm, and we went out to play golf. And by the third hole, I said, "Oh my God, is this what it's like to have a boss?"
Yeah.
It just hit me like a ton of bricks that I didn't know how good I had it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just I was just blessed to have a team that was very faithful to me.
Yep.
And faithful to our customers, and it's just been a joy.
Yep.
In spite of the roller coaster emotions that we talked about earlier.
Yep.
I've just just can't imagine not doing it at this juncture.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. It's, I feel like entrepreneurship is one of those interesting things that uh, once you've done it and gotten more than just startup, once you've established yourself and you've got a legitimate business, it's like, getting that tiger back in the cage is not as easy as, it would seem, you know what I mean? Like, cause the independence that comes from it, the, decision making and things like that, it's just, it's hard. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it just, once you're an entrepreneur and you got the taste for it, it's hard to,
and being
it's
an
hard to put it back.
entrepreneur allows you to be creative,
Right.
in every sense of the word.
Yep.
You don't have any shackles holding you back. Oh, so and so, he's from the Smith division. He's not going to let me, get.
Yeah.
That's not on our radar.
Yep.
We're free to think. We're free to create. We're free to try something.
Yep.
Yep.
Love it. I love it. All right. I mean, we're going to go to our final three questions, but any other things that I didn't go through or anything like that, that you would?
Exhausted my repertoire.
I disagree. I think that the repertoire is deep. And it's, I mean, even today, I mean, I learned stuff from you that I've been learning for, 12 plus years and beyond that on a personal level. And can't thank you enough for, all you've given to me. And
Pleasure's been mine, Jim.
yeah,
Thank
yeah,
you.
absolutely. So we do have a little tradition here. It's sort of outside of the regular, business questions, just for fun. Three questions that, are just for our entertainment, so to speak. But the first one is this: top three rock and roll bands of all time. And I always say, if you're not a rock and roll person, pick your genre that you might like, or maybe it's across genres. But yeah, it's always just like a fun way to get to know somebody. So,
Some that come to my mind would be Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young.
yeah.
Led Zeppelin.
Yep.
And how can I not say the Beatles?
Yep.
Those would be, I guess, my big three.
Yep. Yeah, that's great. CCR does not, and sorry, I didn't mean to leave somebody out there. They have not gotten enough attention. I feel like in my
Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young?
yeah,
Okay.
as I feel like they should, because there's a lot of good tunes in there. And actually, my youngest daughter started playing guitar at I think 8.5,
Oh, wow.
and she's now about 10. But it's been so fun to watch her grow and appreciate rock music.
Wow.
Just because kids these days aren't listening to that kind of stuff, and like getting her into, CCR and, some of these bands has been a ton of fun. But that just reminded me of that. And the Beatles classic. That's great. Second question, which annual holiday is the best one?
Christmas.
Yep.
Absolutely.
All
hands
right.
down.
Unpack.
Just the anticipation of the season,
Yep.
having raised 4 kids and 9 grandchildren, just the joy of the day, the family togetherness, the going to church,
Yeah.
just the it really is, a new coming,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And I mean, I think it's my favorite as well. And yeah, I mean, a lot of folks talk about Thanksgiving. I kind of wedge like the day after Thanksgiving all the way through New Year's together and call it Christmas. But it is the anticipate, and actually I would say Christmas Day, not New Year's Day. Um, but it is sort of that,
it's
like
expensive. Okay.
it's expensive, but it's that season of anticipation. It's like all of a sudden people are nice to one another.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You go jump on the, train, and you go downtown, and
The
everybody's
music,
the music in the air, and everybody is just being kind to one another, and just it feels a little bit more like, every day should be,
Yeah.
but yeah, I agree with you. I love it. All right, final one. If you weren't doing what you're doing currently for work, completely unrelated career that you can see yourself enjoying it and thriving in, and maybe stand-up comedy or improv comedy, could be an idea, but anything,
Well, I know what I would like to do.
all right, what would you like to do?
That would be a PGA professional.
Okay.
Not that I would do
Like
it
a
well.
teaching professional or
Yeah,
like a golfer?
just something having to do with golf. I think that I could get a passion for that.
Yep.
That would be something that I would enjoy.
Yeah. I mean, there's ways to do that, like, yeah, there's an on ramp there, if the days of printing eventually, come to an end and you decide to retire, there's always stuff that you could do there.
Interesting.
But yeah, I could totally see that. Well, really cool. Thank you. This is exactly what I thought it was going to be. Like I said, I always have the opportunity to have these conversations with you. So I'm just glad that we captured it.
Thanks,
and
Jim.
yeah,
Appreciate it. It's been a pleasure.
cheers. Thank you.